Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to a new episode of Happy Home, a space clearing podcast. And today is all about how do I actually know I need a space clearing in my home or my space. So the last episode was more about what space clearing is. So if you haven't listened to that, you can go back and find it. Today, it's just about the signs or the kind of feelings that we go through when we know, oh, maybe my space needs some healing, some purification, some negative energy removal. So let's dive right into it. I have 10 different points that I'll go through to explain how you might know that you benefit from a space clearing. So just a little bit about space clearing. It's really the technique of zoning into people's homes. So me and my mom do this psychically. We do this remotely, probably 95% of the time. And it's about finding those energies, those stuck energies, negative energies that cause disharmony in the place, that, make you feel unbalanced, you or your family. And it's the practice of bringing harmony and peace back into your home. So, what are the signs that you need a space clearing? Number one, feeling stagnant or stuck. If that is an energy that you're feeling more and more of in your space, it might be a huge reason to do a space clearing. Especially if you're working from home and it's so detrimental that you're being creative or inspired or productive, and yet you're feeling so stuck. And, those energy imbalances, they might be contributing to a sense of heaviness within you or one of your family members, lack of motivation, a feeling of just being energetically blocked. Maybe you have very important decisions to make, and yet you're feeling indecisive. You're just feeling stuck. You can't decide anything. And as I said, there's just this lack of constant motivation. It might even go further into lethargy, apathy. And, the more we spend time in that kind of energy, the heavier we feel. And at some point, it just becomes this snowball effect that we feel heavier and heavier and eventually even depressed. And then it's just not a nice environment to be in. So that is a clear sign that there is a need for space clearing. Number two, lingering negative emotions, meaning if you live in a space and you constantly feel a certain or like several emotions, like frustration or anger or like deep sadness, kind of emotions that you haven't felt this strongly when you were living somewhere else, there might be a strong indication that these emotions were left behind by previous tenants or owners, or it might even be very strong traumatic emotions that were felt and were imprinted on the land beneath your building or your home space. So I'm very attuned to traumatic events that happened on a piece of land. And I and my mom, we both retrieve this information, and it can really, maybe it has nothing to do with your home itself. It's just the land underneath. So pay attention to those emotions that you're feeling. Sometimes it's even not in the whole space, but within a certain room that you feel more of that emotion. So my tip here is to really become mindful about what you feel in your space, where you feel it, what kind of emotions, and to be mindful also of, have I felt this in such a strong way before I moved in here, or is it really something new? Number three, very strong reason, it's your inability to sleep through the night, or insomnia, restlessness, really disrupted sleep, be it for you, be it for kids. I worked with a lot of clients who had small kids who were very attuned to negative energies, even the presence of spirits, because they can sense them or they can see them, hear them. So if your sleep is disrupted, and by the way, spirit activity is not just the only reason why that can happen. There's several more, including the presence of ley lines, energy lines, or vortex in your home, geopathic stress, again, on the land itself underneath your home. So there can be a whole lot of different things that me and my mom would check for as to why you're not sleeping well. So again, very important reason to do a space clearing, to understand what's happening and to remove that if possible. And the fourth reason is really the unexplained sensation of cold spots. So let's say you walk through your home, everything feels normal, but then there's this one corner or this one spot where it just always feels kind of strange. Some people say it feels colder. Some people just feel like there's a bit more tension in a certain area. It might also be just a certain room in your home that just feels off for whatever reason. That's a strong indication that a space clearing is needed. And number 5, a lack of harmony or discord within you and your family or your spouse, your significant other, especially if before moving into that space, you used to be quite harmonious, and then suddenly you find yourself fighting about little things. And then, of course, the little things keep accumulating, becoming bigger, and suddenly you're just fighting, even, it's just out of proportion suddenly. That's a strong indication. I worked with quite a number of couples who got along quite well, and then they moved into a new space and they just started querying. And after the space clearing, it went back to normal. And yes, so that's a strong sensation or a strong indication that you should perform a space clearing. And then number 6 is change in environment. So that's really about changing the location. So if you're selling your house, moving into a new one, it's always a great practice to start from a clean slate. So if you're moving to a new apartment, a new home, new office space, it's always a great start to have everything that was before to be cleared. So you are in this neutral space and you're not taking on other people's traumas or chronic illnesses or anything that was left behind, be it in the house or the land itself. Number 7, you feel a disturbing presence. I mentioned it before, like spirits, spirits, entities, any kind of those energies. They obviously differ in kind of how they can harm us. So some are just really, confused spirits who are very happy to go into the light once we communicate with them. Others are more disturbing in nature. I had quite a lot of poltergeist activities with clients who called me, and stuff was just moving in their homes, objects were flying around, really crazy stuff. So, and no matter what, if the presence is not as harmful, it's just spirit, or it is a harmful spirit, none of these spirits should be around in your space. And that includes sometimes ancestors who just linger around and want to look after us. And even they, can go to the light and protect us from a different space. So that's number 7. Number 8, you or a family member started to feel sick once you moved, or you started to be sick more frequently. Maybe the sickness or this illness was already there, but once you moved, it just became like even stronger or more often. That's a strong indication that the space clearing is needed. Number 9, I call this divorce homes. So if you move into a space where you already know people got divorced in, that's such a strong energy. And I mentioned it previously, when people were living well somewhere else and then they moved to a new space and they started fighting. It doesn't have to be, of course, that people got divorced for you to start fighting more. It might just be negative energy. But especially if there has been a divorce in your home previously, it's imperative that you perform a space clearing, because it is such a bad omen for you, your marriage, your family living within this space, because it's just such a disharmonious energy that is influencing you day and night. So very strong indication here. And number 10, you're somebody who's into old furniture or inherited old things, or you're into buying secondhand things, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a beautiful practice of stepping away from this mass, consumerism, and just be more mindful. But every single item that we bring into our homes or that we inherited can have the energetic imprint of the person who created it, whose belonging it was. And sometimes it comes even with spirits attached. I had multiple cases of people buying decorations from Africa, like masks, for example, masks from Africa, and they came with entities. So that's a strong indication for you to also just perform a space clearing to make sure that all these different objects, items, furniture, they're all cleared and it's all neutralized, and providing a more harmonious and balanced energy in your space. So those are the 10 that I came up with. There's of course more, but those are, I would say, the major ones that me and my mom come across when we perform space clearings. If any of those resonated with you, or you have like this question mark above your head now, oh my God, do I need a space clearing? I do not want you to freak out at all. We provide free space clearing assessments. You will find my website below in the description. If you want a free assessment, go ahead, book yourself in, and just explain to me during the assessment what it is that you're feeling. And we can zone in and provide some answers, and then you can make up your mind as to whether you want to go ahead and actually have a space clearing. And yes, stay tuned for future episodes where we discuss all the things around space clearing, and case studies and success stories, and lots of fun stories as well. If you enjoyed this episode or the podcast, please do leave a review. It means so much to me and my mom. So lots of love to you, and have a beautiful day.